one of the more iconic plants within PvZ2, as it's a pretty early yet extremely powerful unlock. So I thought, why not put it to the real test and see if it alone could solo all of PvZ2 if at max level. But before we begin, let me tell you all the rules. Only Snapdragon, no power-ups or Zen Garden, skip all levels that force the use of another plant, pre-placed plants are fine, and lastly, coins earned throughout the challenge can be used to buy plant food, but no replaying levels to farm coins. Oh, and about 91% of people who watch my videos aren't actually subscribed, so if you end up enjoying the video, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind later. Okay, let the journey begin. Ancient Egypt itself isn't too difficult, so we're going to be speeding past it, but while it plays in the background, I'm going to be going over the max level stats of the Snapdragon. Its cost goes from 150 to 100 sun, its recharge time goes from 5 seconds to 3 seconds, its health goes from 300 to 900, its damage goes from 30 to 90, so it triples, and also you can add on the 200 mastery pierce bonus. Its plant food damage goes from 1800 to 2200, so not too much of a difference. And lastly, a stat that only applies in the frostbite caves, which is its warming radius, and it has a 3.7x boost, which basically just means that the range of it is about 4 times higher. And that was all of Ancient Egypt B using just the max level Snapdragon. Next up, Pirate Seas, similar to Ancient Egypt, is a very easy world for the most part. There are some new challenges like protecting the flowers from being trampled on and also having to defeat a certain amount of zombies under a certain amount of time, but those are all very easy challenges in the face of Snapdragon. But there actually was one level in this entire world that caused me some trouble, and that was the Pirate Seas boss. And on a rare occurrence, we do have to play this level since the Snapdragon appears in the conveyor. And normally you would think this would be a very easy level because the Snapdragon is just good enough to deal with the plank walker by itself, but for some reason the level is coded in a way that you only get 2 Snapdragons no matter how many times you plant the other plants and shovel them up. And over time I actually ended up losing my Snapdragons because the boss would do its main attacks, and then this parrot took my very last Snapdragon, and if the Snapdragons get eaten or taken away, you can get them again in the conveyor, but this time it was just too slow and the imps made it to the end before I got one. A very unexpected loss. And on the first level, I actually didn't know that there was a 2 Snapdragon limit and thought that I was just getting extremely unlucky. But I did find out on the second attempt because I started off by playing careful and planting my Snapdragons towards the back so the zombies would be dealt with. And this also meant that I wouldn't lose my lawnmowers. But as the level went on for literally about a minute and 30 seconds and I didn't get any more Snapdragons, I realized that there was that 2 Snapdragon limit. So I ended up having to shovel them just so I'd get more from the conveyor, and I was able to get 2 more to plant in that very front so they'd hit the plank walker, but then the plank walker spawned in this gargantuar which took out the Snapdragon, and then I didn't get any more Snapdragons and the gargantuar was able to walk all the way to the end, taking me out for a second time. On the third attempt I realized that I couldn't really employ any strategy to this and would just have to blitz through the plank walker's health if I wanted to win, which is exactly what I was doing because I was letting the zombies take the lawnmowers and then using my plant food to take out the plank walker's health. And it was getting pretty close as I lost the top Snapdragon, but thankfully I got a plant food and was able to use it on the Snapdragon, and it took out the plank walker with me finally beating the level on my third attempt. And that was all of Pirate Seas beaten using just the max level Snapdragon. Next up, the Wild West, a world not too difficult, but it does come with some annoyances. But as these annoyances don't exist on days 1, 2, 3, and 5, they're all beaten very easily. Day 6 isn't difficult either, but we stop here to prepare some defenses. Day 7 was also easily beaten, just placing Snapdragons in the second column from the front. However, on day 10, the annoyances come in the form of chickens. And most of the time, the chickens get obliterated by the Snapdragon, but sometimes, like in the bottom lane and the very top lane, they slip through because of the Snapdragon's semi-slow attack and they get all the way to the lawnmowers. And you'll see another annoyance in the very top lane. I planted my Snapdragon just a little too late and the chicken got right on top of it, so the Snapdragon couldn't hit it. Even a plant food wasn't able to get it. So I was kind of just using plant food to keep that Snapdragon alive until I had enough sun for another one, and then that second one was able to take it out and we beat day 10. 11 has a 500 sun limit, but that means we can place 5 Snapdragons, so it isn't too bad, and we're able to beat it just using 4. 13 didn't have any special challenges, but we beat it using the same placements. Day 14, however, is the second level that the chickens appear in, and my strategy this time was not to place the Snapdragons all in one column, and this time instead split them up so they have more chances to hit the chickens. chickens. But if you look in the very bottom lane, even with multiple chances, the Snapdragon sometimes let the chickens through, which is kind of annoying, but the semi-fix to this is just planting a Snapdragon in the lane that the lawnmower was taken in, and as long as I'm paying attention to that Snapdragon's health, it's nearly impossible for the chickens to get through a second time. And a second chicken was able to take the middle lawnmower, but the one in the very bottom lane was taken care of, and we beat day 14. Day 15 had the challenge where I couldn't lose more than 2 plants, nothing too difficult. Day 16 I had to protect this walnut on the minecart, so I surrounded it with Snapdragons, and they were able to get the job done. Day 17 I had to protect these flowers in the middle from being trampled on, but so far the chickens are the only zombies that were able to get through the Snapdragons, and as this level doesn't have any chickens, it was taken down fairly easily. Day 18 I prepped defenses. Days 19 and 21 were pretty simple. Day 23, however, is a pretty scary level because it has the challenge of protecting the flowers from being trampled on, but at the same time sends in chickens. And as you can see, I was able to get down one Snapdragon in every lane in front of the flowers before the first chicken wrangler even came in. And this level, in theory, which should have been difficult, actually ended up being pretty easy. And after taking out this bucket head and obliterating the chickens, day 23 had been beaten on the first attempt. Day 24 is the last level of the Wild West, and we have to protect these walnuts in the front, and the first thing I do is move them all to the same lane. That basically just makes it easier to manage them, and after spamming some Snapdragons in some pretty awkward spots and also plant fooding the walnut in the very front just in case, I was able to beat all of Wild West using just the max level Snapdragon. Next up, the Frostbite Caves, whose wins are completely countered by the Snapdragon. And due to this, days 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, and 9 are all defeated very easily. Even day 11, which is a level that's pretty difficult because of its 4 flags, heavy winds, and an insane amount of zombies. Yet Snapdragon makes it look like any other level. Day 12, we planted a column of Snapdragons and third column from the front, and then 2 more in the very front just to take out the zombies faster, and day 12 was taken down. Day 13 has 4 flags, and we have to protect these flowers in the back from being trampled on, and the entire level is pretty easy. The only problem usually is a Gargantuar in the very bottom lane launching its imps right next to the flowers, but this time I was prepared and had a Snapdragon, but then it missed one of the imps, so I had to slow down the time and plant another Snapdragon, and we almost lost, but thankfully we didn't. Day 15 gives us some support with the pepper pults, but since Snapdragon heats itself up, we don't really make use of the pepper pults and plant the Snapdragons up front. Oh yeah, day 17 you can see the crazy warming radius of the Snapdragon because I place it very up front, but it's still able to get all the frozen plants behind it. And of course, I quickly shoveled these plants for some extra sun, as replacing them with max level Snapdragons would be much more beneficial with the sun. And in doing so, day 17 was defeated. Day 19, a couple of snowstorm zombies were able to get past my front lines, but then they funneled into the middle 3 lanes, so all I had to do was just plant a Snapdragon in the very middle lane, and I was able to take care of them, beating day 19. And then days 20 and day 22 were defeated pretty easily as they didn't have any special challenges. Day 23 did have a special challenge of protecting these charred guards in the very back, but much more dangerous on this level were the zombie weasels introduced. They're basically the chickens of the Frostbite Caves, but luckily the charred guards are actually pretty good at defeating the weasels themselves, and so day 23 was defeated without much difficulty. Day 26 had more weasels, and the weasel in the very top lane actually made it all the way to the end, taking out my lawnmower, but then by the end I was able to get down a Snapdragon in every lane, so they couldn't get through, and day 26 was beaten on the first attempt. Day 27 was pretty simple as well, and day 28 is the last level that we play of the Frostbite Caves, and the only problem we ran into was this Gargantuar in the very bottom lane taking out my Snapdragon, but I was quickly able to replace it with another one, and it took out the Gargantuar, defeating Frostbite Caves with just a max level Snapdragon. Next up, Lost City and the Far Future, which both we're going to be super speeding past, mainly due to the reason that they don't have any special challenges that are actually challenging to the Snapdragon, and also they just have things that are involved in the world that help us a lot. Like Lost City has the gold tiles which provide us extra sun, allowing me to just spam Snapdragons if needed, and then Far Future provides us with the power tiles, making it literally impossible for any zombie to get past the Snapdragon. Even the tankiest of zombies like the Robo All-Stars and the Robo Coneheads didn't really stand a chance against the Snapdragon. And with that, all of Lost City and Far Future had been beaten with a max level Snapdragon. Next up, The Dark Ages, a world that usually has some sun problems, but I do allow gold bloom, but I still like seeing how far I can get without the gold bloom. And night one's pretty lenient because it gives us a pretty good amount of sun gravestones to work with, and after breaking them all down, we're able to get down 7 snapdragons, and this was of course enough to beat night 1. Night 2, again, we still do have some sun gravestone support, and we actually didn't even need to break them all down and just went with 4 snapdragons, beating night 2. Night 3, however, we have to start using the gold bloom because no sun gravestones spawn, and in doing so, nights 3 and 5 were easily defeated. Night 6, we prepped defenses. Night 7 and 9 were pretty easy as well. Night 11 introduces an annoying zombie, which is the wizard, but thankfully I placed my snapdragons in the front, which makes it so that the wizards don't even get a chance to sheepify my plants. So night 11 was easily taken down as well. Night 12 is usually a difficult one because of the jesters and the wizard combo, and also us having to protect the puff shroom in the back, but the snapdragons absolutely dominate the whole level and we beat it without a problem. Night 15, again, we prep defenses. Night 16 and 17 especially were extremely easy because I ended off night 17 with almost 2000 sun. But that aside, we are now on night 19, which is the last level that we play of the Dark Ages. And as you guessed, there was no problem at all defending these magnet shrooms, and we had now beaten all of the Dark Ages with just the max level Snapdragon. Next up, the Neon Mixtape Tour and the Jurassic Marsh, which both of the worlds I'd classify as the easy worlds of the difficult worlds, if that makes sense. What I mean by that is that I considered the Neon Mixtape Tour, Jurassic Marsh, Big Wave Beach, and Modern Day the difficult worlds, and the Jurassic Marsh and Neon Mixtape Tour I'd consider the 2 easier ones out of those 4. And we're super speeding past these 2 worlds once again because there isn't really much that goes on, and it gets a little bit juicier in the Big Wave Beach. The only problem I can really even think of is the Gargantuars in the Neon Mixtape Tour, who sometimes take out your plants with their shockwave attack, and then the other problem in the Jurassic Marsh would either be the T-Rex or the Ankylosaurus. But other than that, Snapdragon makes it look all pretty easy. And that was the Neon Mixtape Tour and the Jurassic Marsh beaten with just a max level Snapdragon. Next up, the Big Wave Beach, and I said it gets a little difficult, but that's a little later on. And due to that, days 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, and 12 were all beaten without any problems. But day 17 gets a little interesting because we are introduced to the Octo Zombie. And as y'all know, the Snapdragon's range is pretty atrocious, so if I don't have the Snapdragons up front on lily pads attacking the Octo Zombie can just take over. And that's exactly what happened on the final wave as 2 octopus zombies were sent, and they covered the front 2 Snapdragons, which basically gave them free reign to cover the other 2 Snapdragons as well. But since it was the final wave, I kind of just let the lawnmowers do their thing, but we still end up losing 4 of them, which is much more than normal, and that was only against 2 Octo Zombies. 19 actually doesn't have any Octos, so it's beaten pretty easily. Day 20 was definitely going to be problematic because we didn't have any land lanes to work with, and they were all in the water with lily pads, and of course they had Octo Zombies. But as the level went on, I kind of placed my Snapdragons in a pattern that if the front ones got covered, the back ones would attack them and immediately release them of the octopus. And this system actually worked pretty well as we beat day 20 pretty easily and only lost 1 lawnmower. But the worst was yet to come as day 22 were first introduced to the fisherman zombie. And they're not too big of a problem on day 22 because there's nothing to defend or any special challenge, so we're able to beat them. But day 23, things get a little devious because we have these 3 banana launchers to protect, and the short range of the Snapdragon is really bad. Of course, due to the fishermen that spawned. So my main goal here was to protect the Snapdragons that were already on the lily pads and try to keep them alive, because if they went away, there's no way I'd be able to beat the fisherman. I had to plant food the Snapdragon in the top lane just because the fisherman would have taken it out, and at the same time I had my banana launchers on standby just in case I needed to use it on something else. And I got a little devious in the top middle lane in the end, but thankfully the Snapdragon was able to take out the fisherman before the Octo Zombie covered it. And as the Octo Zombie was the last zombie left, I used a banana launcher on it, and at last we had beaten day 23. 25 wasn't too bad. 27 looks bad in the beginning, but it also ended up being pretty easy. Same with days 28 and 29. Day 30, however, is the worst level of Big Wave Beach, as we have to protect the crocodiles in the back, mainly from the fishermen. And the Snapdragon is a horrific plant for this level because of its short range. And again, my main goal was trying to protect the Snapdragons on the lily pads, because if we lost the lily pads, I'd lose my leverage against the fishermen. And as the level went on, we lost the Snapdragon in the bottom lane, bottom middle lane to this Gargantuar, and also the one in the top middle lane up front right by the fisherman, because the fisherman was able to hook it in. But at this point, I had some plant food stocked up, so I kind of just panic plant fooded and took out all the fishermen. And then finally, with only the Buckethead and Scuba Zombie left, we had beaten all of Big Wave Beach using just a max level Snapdragon. But now we have to face the Dragon Imps and we're introduced to the Dragon Imps on day 4 of modern day. And it's not just 1 or 2, it's actually 7 sent sporadically through the level, which is actually worse for us because the strategy to beating these guys is utilizing the lawnmower, and we do that by stalling them using the Snapdragons as kind of punching bags. And them being sent sporadically is annoying because we have to wait for the final wave, and thankfully I was able to stall until the final wave, which allowed the lawnmowers to take them all out, and I ended up beating this devious level on my first attempt. Day 7 doesn't have any Dragon Imps, but it has a lot of Octo Zombies who cover up basically all my Snapdragons, but again, we make it to the final wave and the lawnmowers are basically just able to carry me. Day 11, I realized that the newspaper zombies are pretty scary because one Snapdragon actually isn't able to take out one newspaper and gets eaten by it. That's only if the newspaper zombie is in the lane that the Snapdragon's in, because if you look in the top lane, it was taken out by the Snapdragons that were in the lane beside it, but that was most likely due to the reason that there's 2 Snapdragons attacking it. But aside from that, day 11 was beaten pretty easily. Day 12, we once again see the Dragon Imp, and it's the first zombie that spawns in the level. And I tried stalling it for a little bit, but after I ate the first Snapdragon, I kind of just let it go. Then another problem appeared, which was the chicken wranglers, and the chickens in the top lane made it all the way to the lawnmower. And then right after, 3 more Dragon Imps appeared. And at this point, it was just too many Dragon Imps, and I didn't have enough sun, so I kind of just let them take the lawnmowers, praying that there weren't any more Dragon Imps sent in those top 3 lanes within the final wave. And very luckily there weren't. It was actually just this very easy Gargantuar in the top lane. And with that, day 12 was beat. Day 21 is definitely the next annoying level, mainly due to the all-stars, because they're able to take out my Snapdragons if I don't plant food them to defend them. So I'm forced to just be on high alert for whenever they come in. And right before the final wave was about to come in, I didn't have enough plant food for these 2 all-stars, but thankfully the Snapdragons on the top and bottom lanes were able to take them out. But then as the final wave came in, I literally didn't have enough sun for anything, so I kind of just let the lawnmowers do the work. Then a microphone whipper and an octo zombie spawned in the top and bottom lanes, but by that time I was able to get enough sun from the sky for the Snapdragons, and in doing so we beat day 21. Day 29, we once again see Dragon Imps, and it's literally the first zombie that's sent in. Pretty annoying since I have to stall it until the end, but I knew that I had to defend the other lanes as well, so I kind of just gave up on that Dragon Imp and let it go all the way to the lawnmower, once again hoping that no more spawned in that lane. And things started looking treacherous because before the final wave even came in, I had lost all 5 of my lawnmowers, and very unluckily there was a zombie in the middle lane, and I got my son too last second to place a Snapdragon down, and the zombie actually ended up taking me out. A very unexpected loss, but I was pretty confident in beating this level. And on the second attempt, I had the knowledge that I didn't need to stall this first Dragon Imp, so I let it go to the lawnmower, which allowed me to get down more Snapdragons. And this time, as the final wave came in, I still had 4 of my lawnmowers intact, so I only had to worry about the bottom lane. And doing exactly that, I was kind of just focusing on that bottom lane, planting the Snapdragons around it, and with that lawnmower taking out that final Gargantuar, we beat day 29 on our second attempt. But now we had another problematic level, day 30, in which the main problem would be the all-stars. But this is the level that we've been stockpiling our sun up for, so I bought my plant food and filled up the meter. And as the all-stars started coming in, I used my plant food to defend my Snapdragons, and I kind of just went overkill with the plant food because I realized that I didn't really even need to use it like for these Gargantuars, but I did anyways, and we had beaten day 30 of modern day, which is basically the last difficult level of the run. And normally I would say that the run ends here on day 31 of modern day, but it actually doesn't, because the Snapdragon actually ends up appearing on one of the boss waves of modern day. But this time there's thankfully no 2 Snapdragon limit, and it was the easiest boss of the entire game, so we're able to beat it pretty easily. And that was all of PvZ2 soloed using just a max level Snapdragon. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know what other plants I should try next. Okay, bye bye.